Hello everyone, this is MMA Interesting Prospects podcast. Today our guest is Corey Norman, who will be fighting on Battle in Barre against Ed Collins December 15th. Hello Corey, how are you?
Hi, how are you, sir?
I'm good. And Corey, this fight will be actually a rematch against the fighter that you won against previously. And
Yes.
if you can tell me, how do you feel before this bout, and do you think that he can be a challenge for you in this moment?
It's a great question. I'm feeling pretty good. Training's going really well. My weight is right around where it needs to be. I like to stay right around 230, 235 before my cut. And I'm right on point for that. So everything's going well and no injuries, knock on wood. So that's good. I've got this is probably the biggest training camp that I've had. I've got a lot of people who specialize in a lot of different fields. And yeah, I've been able to improve a lot of things and sharpen a lot of tools that I've been able to use in the cage already. So I'm really looking forward to the opportunity. As far as, if Ed is, dangerous, I mean, I think anybody who's, willing to sign on the line and put that kind of training in, I think anybody is dangerous. And I'm training, every single fight that I have, I'm training like I'm about to step in there with John Jones. So that's how it's going.
Especially that this is not a flyweight bout. It's like a big heavy punches thrown. So in the end, it can be a danger always in the fight.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
And how much of the weight do you cut for this fight?
So this will be a light heavyweight bout. So I'll be cutting from 235 down to 205. So it'll be about 30 pounds.
And it seems on the paper quite a big number, but I know that you fought previously also in light heavyweight. So do you think that it will be no problem for you and you will be feel good in the cage?
Yeah. Actually, the previous time that I had fought Ed, I had actually fought at heavyweight maybe a month before that, maybe a month and a half before that. And I weighed in for that heavyweight title fight. I weighed in at 242 pounds. So I went from 242, dipped back down to 205. So yeah, yes, I can manage that cut pretty well.
And overall, I think that you are a little bit like maybe forgotten man in like world of prospects in MMA because you never lost a fight in the either amateur or the pro. You won titles. You also fought in two divisions. So I think that not many
Three.
people. Okay, so even three and not many people talk about you, and you even made your pro debut in LFA, and we know that how big of the promotion LFA is. So I think
Yes.
that you deserve much more recognition.
You know, thank you. One, thank you. I do appreciate that. I really struggle with the recognition aspect of this sport. I want to test myself against, the best in the world. And I think that anybody on any given day with the right kind of preparation and training and mindset, I think it's a lot like Batman. Like, as long whatever you got, like, and if you can plan it right, you can take down Superman if you do it. And I think it all comes down into the execution, into the will that you have to be able to do that. And for me, that's the big part. Like, that's the payoff. The payoff is not like the adulation and the fans and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, like, all of the people, like, the fans of this sport are amazing, and the stories that come out of it are amazing. But like, truly, like, I like the test of it, and I like being able to say, like, no, I did that, and I did something that, less than 1% of the population of this planet can say that they did. Um, so I mean, as far as, like I said, thank you very much for saying that. But for me, it really does come down to, like, I am investing myself and trying to perfect the craft that I have, and it's not unlike being an artist in different forms, but I just, yeah, that's really the payoff for me.
And on the paper you have like two more fights scheduled this year, and we know that on the regional scene something sometimes are happening and the fights are off. And were you a little bit like afraid that in the end you will fight only one time this year?
mean, I think I've had more fights drop out than I've actually had fights. Like and that's the fight game. Like, in a world of professional tough guys, it can be difficult sometimes to get people to sign on the line. And I get that. And I don't fault anybody for that. Um, but I am not getting younger. I'm 39. I'm going to be 40, next year. Um, and I seem to be doing better as I get older, oddly enough. So I'll take that for as long as I can do it. But there were definitely moments where, like, I would have a camp, and then you get the phone call about, like, oh, this is supposed to happen, but somebody injured themselves, or somebody's dealing with something, or whatever. And I can understand that. I can appreciate that, but I'm really excited for this fight coming up, and I cannot wait to get back in there.
And in the perfect world, do you plan to finish the fight by knockout or submission? Because probably the finish is on your mind.
I have a very specific submission that I'm going to try to do. I'm going to have a specific submission and I don't believe it's ever been done in the cage before. So I'm going to try to make a statement with that. And I'm going to hedge my bets, and I don't want to talk about it just yet. But yeah, I've got a specific submission that I'm going to try to do. Ed tends to lead with a couple of mistakes where he'll post certain ways. And if he does that, then I'll be able to capitalize on that, and I should be able to pull it off. So I'm excited to do that. So, and as far as, like, I mean, again, like, I'll take whatever finish I can get. And if a TKO presents itself, or hell, if a knockout presents itself, then great, I'll do that. But I will try to hunt for whatever kind of finish that I can get as quickly as I can and as cleanly as I can.
And there were a few, like, in the UFC, like twisters or like omoplata, I believe, too. So if it's not, if the submission that you are talking about never happened, it's like a good question for the jiu-jitsu, like fighters, what it can be.
Oh, it's not even jujitsu; it's a catch wrestling submission, so it's not jujitsu. And that was what I got my start with, because I'm not ranked in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't have a belt or anything like that. I've been doing submission wrestling and catch wrestling for quite some time now, and it's based in those arts. So, like I said, we're gonna see. I hope I can get it.
And did you have a, like, previous experience as the maybe teenager with wrestling, maybe like karate or taekwondo?
No,
No.
no, none. My dad was a pretty good wrestler when he was growing up, and I learned a little bit of that from him, kind of. But like most of what I know, I learned from, experience, and from just, people who are willing to show me. Um, but a lot of what I know is self-taught from just studying tape and reading, and studying tape and reading, and then practicing, and then reading, and then, yeah. So it's not unlike getting a doctorate. It's a lot of research on my end.
When did you think about becoming a pro, or even earlier amateur MMA fighter?
So my first, so I mean, I'd had a couple of smoker fights where it's like they're not necessarily even legal, but like, a couple of events like that. And then my first, like, legitimate amateur fight was in 2007. And then I went on a hiatus, like, I just stopped. And then, I got my master's degree. I got married. I had 3 kids. I teach social studies. I teach history for a living. So I was doing that. And then, I realized I wasn't getting any younger. And so I kind of had that, just, I don't know, that desire to compete kind of just welling up inside of me. And I figured I'd give it a shot. And then I went on my run at Cage Wars, and I got the light heavyweight, the cruiser heavyweight, and the heavyweight title for that organization. Um, and yeah, like, it's been kind of crazy how that's turned out. Like, not anything that I had planned on, or like, oh, I'm going to be a professional athlete when I never ever was I like, oh, I'm going to be that when I grow up. It was just like, okay, let's do this building block, and let's do this building block, and can I do a weight cut? And it's like, oh no, okay, I can. And then you piece it together, one little stitch at a time, and it's been a lot of fun.
And when you had this fight in 2007, and there after this there were like a long break, did you still like were you a fan of MMA? So you watched the fights, or you
Yes.
just left? Okay.
No, I was a fan of the fights, and I was teaching like submission wrestling at a local gym, and I was still staying like up to date, and I was I was staying reasonably fit, not fighting fit at that time, but I was staying reasonably fit, and yeah, and I like I said like around like 2017 2018, I started competing in more grappling tournaments, and I was winning, and I was doing pretty well, and I figured why not try to see what I can do. So.
So it's kind of crazy because you can
Super
see
crazy.
you you can see the evolution of the sport, because 2007 or even like 2010, it was so many years ago, and the sport really evolved from
Oh yeah,
the like not a big one to the really mainstream one.
yeah. Oh, 100. And like I remember, coming up I mean, I will say, like, still to this day, my favorite fight of all time is Randy Couture versus Tim Sylvia. I love that fight so much. Like I mean, not just because I'm getting close to Randy's age now, but like I yeah, I just like watching that fight was like oh shoot, oh like like you can figure it out. Like you can figure out a way how a guy on paper who probably has no business being in there with somebody who is bigger, faster, younger, probably stronger. Like you can figure it out. Um, and then from there all the way up to watching George and watching him fight and watching the evolution of the sport that way, and then watching DJ and all of the things, the insane things that man can do, like my goodness. And yeah, like it really has been like watching like a kid grow up in like sport form. Like it's just like the evolution of the sport has been just a joy to watch. So
And probably in 2007, not many people their plan was to train or to fight, right? Because it was at this point it was like 2 years after the first Ultimate Fighter, so it probably growed a little bit, but still was not a mainstream one.
no, it was not mainstream at that point. No, it was yeah, fights back in 2007 were, it was hard to find them. And it was like like travel. Then that was in, so I'm in Western New York, right around Buffalo, New York. And yeah, that fight was out in Chicago, so that was a hike to get out there. Um, and yeah, like when MMA in New York State wasn't legalized, I want to say until 2015. So I mean, it was a minute. It's been a minute. So
Yes, the like the MMA in New York is also a quite a interesting story, because it was banned for so many years, and then it was like UFC 205, I believe,
yeah,
the Conor against Eddie.
yeah, and all of a sudden, yeah, it just blew up from there. Which good. Like I'm glad that opened the doors for it.
And if you can tell me more about the gym that right now you are training in, and also the sparring partners that you have there.
Yeah, of course. Um, excuse me. So I'm training and I'm coaching out of Western New York MMA, WNY MMA. And Felipe Silva, who was a former lightweight for the UFC, is my coach. He's been helping me put things together. And every now and then he and I will throw some gloves on and go at it. And I've got so many great sparring partners. Blake Curran is also a really good friend of mine, good sparring partner. He's the K4 welterweight champ currently. Um, and let's see. We've got Crouton Niles. We've got Michael Phelps, who's absolutely hell on wheels. He had his debut for MMA a little while ago, won his in stunning fashion. Hope to see him back in the cage again soon. Who else? We had a couple good. Gabe just won his fight. Tony just won his fight last night. Todd Banks won the U.S. gold for Muay Thai last week at the Worlds there. So WNY has been doing pretty well, and then all of those guys are really good, pretty good friends and sparring partners of mine, and definitely help me stay sharp. So.
And if I'm correct, Felipe in the UFC he was a lightweight, right?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And you could tell him, you could, I hope, God, I hope he's about 100. He says he's 185 pounds now. He is much heavier than that. Don't let him, if you ever talk to him, don't let him lie to you. He's not 185. Coach, you're not 185 pounds. Stop lying to people. There you go.
And when you are thinking about your future, because right now it's you are 1-0, and soon there is a big chance that you will be 2-0 as the professional. But if you are thinking about like next years in your career, what is like the main goal for you?
I want it is never did I ever think to consider myself on the same level as some of the professionals that I've seen and worked with and stuff like that. So I need to get that out of the way first. Um, I would like to do this, and I would like to be able to really challenge and test myself against some of the best people in the world. That's what I would like to do. And if I come out on top in doing that, then great. And if I fall short, then I did it while I was trying to do something that I loved. So I would love to be able to do that. And I have been able to do that already. And I count myself extremely lucky to have that opportunity and that chance to continue to do that. Um, but yeah, like I said, like I know that that a lot of people like hyperbolically will say like, oh, like I always train because I'm trying to fight blah 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 or whatever. Like I really do. Like I imagine stepping in there with some of the best in the world at some point, and I would very much like to be able to test myself and see how I would do with that.
And with which fighter would you like to fight in the like dream fight scenario?
205, Hamza.
Not many people probably will mention his name because of his last fight.
Maybe,
Yes, yes,
but
but
yeah, no, I think yeah, I think it'd be a good fight.
and to be honest, it was like a super impressive performance because Robert was, of course, he is in the top on the top for so many years, and the fight was like kind of crazy. Maybe not even that comes at one, but that he submitted him without any problems. Of course, there was some problem with the jaws, so it's
Yes.
like we need to take this into consideration. But still, it was like super impressive performance.
That was very oh yeah. And like I said, Hamzat's hell on wheels. Like he that was nothing short of a dismantling that we saw. It was strategic, it was intelligent, and yeah, and I a lot of I mean, and he gets a lot of credit. I don't think that he gets the credit that he deserves. To watch him corral and move people towards a cage to be able to stop them from sprawling backwards, and him to do that with nothing more than footwork is masterful to watch. Um, and to be able to see the angles that he turns and to watch him chain wrestle from a low single to a knee pick to a double to a back take, like again, like you were watching chain wrestling on a very, very high level. Um, and yeah, like I said, masterful is the only word that comes to mind when describing that level of athleticism and his ability to be able to dominate in the cage that way.
And in, I believe, 2 weeks, we will have a UFC heavyweight championship fight, John Jones against Stipe. And about this
Yes,
fight, who do you think will win?
that's a great question. That's a very good question. Um, if if Stipe can stick to the game plan that I think that he's going to try, what I think that he's going to try to do to John, um, I think that he will do very well. I think he'll do very well. Um, John is vicious with the strikes that he John is vicious no matter where, but John is vicious with the strikes that he tries to do to dismantle specific body parts. And if he did that to Glover, he did that to to Gustafson. You know, he did that to Rampage. You know, he does that to pretty much everybody, where he will find, usually it's either elbow or knee that he starts to go after. And if somebody is pressuring him too much on the outside, then he's going to go for the knee. If somebody's pressuring too much on the inside, then he goes for the elbow. And that we've seen that predominantly in most of his fights. The only time that we saw that try to work against him was with Rivera, and Rivera was able to do that with some very, very solid boxing fundamentals. And one of the things that we know about Stipe is that his fundamentals in boxing are, I mean, almost flawless. They're very, very good. I think John's going to threaten the takedown. I think he's going to threaten early to try to get that into Stipe's head. I don't know. If John can take Stipe down in the first round, I think John's going to be able to take it away from him, and I think he'll probably be able to take it away in 3. If Stipe can stop the takedown and he can keep it on the feet and he can keep John on his back leg so that he can't kick as well, I think that we might actually see Stipe eke out a decision, or my guess would be that he would get a round 4 stoppage. So it's either going to be a round 4 stoppage or decision for Stipe, or it's going to be inside of 3 for John.
I think that many people are counting out Stipe, of course, because
Yes.
of the long break. But in the end, it can be like funny thing in the history if the Stipe would win by knockout and then like retired.
That would I mean, here's the thing. That couldn't happen to a nicer human being. Like to ride off into the sunset with that feather in your cap, like, and as a man, as a father, like, who, you know, wants to be able to say, like, you know, oh no, MMA, you know, can be for decent human beings, and Stipe Miocic is a guy that you can look at and say, yep, that's the guy. Like 100%. Like, as a man, I hope Stipe walks away with it. And I think he has all of the tools to be able to do that. And, you know, break or no break, I think anybody who counts, you know, a man like Stipe Miocic out is not doing their homework. So, yeah.
Yes, but in the end, it's like the best light heavyweight in the UFC history against probably the best heavyweight in the UFC history. So it's like,
Yeah.
It will be a good one. And you mentioned before that you are a teacher, right? The history teacher.
Yeah. Yeah, I teach history.
And where? In like high school, middle school?
Yep. So I teach, I'm certified 7 through 12 in New York State. So they do it by different grades. But yeah, middle school and high school is what I teach.
So probably you can be like a little bit like inspiration for young people, because you are fighting in the cage, you are doing great things, and you still are teaching young people, maybe not kids, but young people. So I think that it's like a very, very interesting fact, and it's like probably I would guess that they can really admire you.
I mean, if they do, they don't tell me. Like a lot of them be like, "When's your next fight?" And I'll tell them, be like, "Man, I hope you get knocked out." I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you." But I mean, and some of them do. Some of them are very, very sweet about it, and some of them, like, when I show up on Monday with the black eye that I have right now, they'll be like, "Are you all right? Are you?" Guys, I'm fine. It's okay. It's okay. But yeah, it's man, I really like, if if MMA is my first love, like, man, teaching is real close. It's hard. That's a hard one. And a lot of honestly, the hardest question that people have asked me, they're like, you know, if MMA for you really takes off, would you give up teaching? And that's a big question. I don't have an answer for yet. So that might be something I've got to consider if, like I said, you know, push comes to shove, I got to figure out what's going to happen with that. So.
And about history, what is like your favorite time in the history to teach or to read about?
Oof, that's a great question. If I'm doing world history, talking about the different, almost like the Russian Revolution, French Revolution, American Revolution, and the Haitian Revolution, all happening in the span of like 125 years from each other, like, is insane. And talking about like the world changes that then set the footsteps of all of the things that have since happened from, from that time until now is amazing. And to deal with all of the things that happened because of that, and in reference to that is huge. And getting kids to understand like all of these revolutions that happened because of the scientific revolution, or happened because of the industrial revolution, and the changing like tides of how people came to understand the world that they lived in is I really do enjoy covering that. Um, if I'm talking American history, man, I really do enjoy talking about the Civil War, and that's such a trope and bad answer. I really do like it. Um, but yeah, those two eras I really do enjoy.
And overall, I think that history is fascinating because you can go to any time in the history in any place, and you can like be learning about like interesting facts, interesting stories, like big heroes, or the
Yeah,
like big villains, the like
yeah,
the bad guys.
yeah, absolutely.
And before getting back to your fighting career, how do you deal with the stress before your fights?
The stress before my fights. That's a great question. So there's a lot of different things that I mean, there's a lot of different things that I do, and it all goes down to like the prep, like the preparation for it. Like I have written out, all of I have like 5 or 6 contingency plans for my fight. So it's like this is my absolute penultimate. This is how I would like the fight to go. This is if this happens, if this happens, if this happens, if this happens. And so in my head, I play through all of that, and I visualize it, and I do a lot of visualization exercises. Um, I do a lot of breathing exercises. I do a lot of like, focus work and stuff like that. Before the fight, it's really just kind of thinking about, the things that motivate me and get me up in the morning to do that. I've got 3 daughters, and I mean, they are, I mean, and every parent says that, my kids are everything. And, I'm not any different in saying that, but it's like, it is different for fighters because this is such a selfish sport. Like this is like there's like like there, we have a team, absolutely, but like we're the only ones who are getting in there. We're the only ones who are going through that aspect of competition. And the all of the things that you have to sacrifice and take away from, your time with family and your time with friends. And then, as a parent, your time with your kids, like it's such a selfish thing to think about. And for me, it's like, I don't want those moments that I had to sacrifice to be away from my kids to not add up to something that I'm not proud to show and that I'm not proud to be a part of. So if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this as hard and as damn well good as I can, because I don't want to look back on this and be like, man, I kind of half-assed this one, or oh, like I didn't do this. And that is like before a fight, that's really all the motivation I need to kind of calm my nerves and get myself into it.
About visualization, the GSP was like big on the visualization, and he
Yes.
said that it was helping him to go through the like tough situation when he visualized the like tough moments in the fight, and he was looking for the perfect solution to beat these obstacles.
Yeah. Yeah. And that really is it. And like I dream about it almost like I'm counting sheep sometimes. I'll go through like a scenario and I'm like, no, like as I'm like drifting off, like, no, that wouldn't be good. Like, oh no, that'll work. And then I'll drill it the next day or whatever. And yeah, I 100%. And I mean, I don't understand the science behind it, but it works.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I have one last question. Do you have a like bucket list, or can you share the one thing from the bucket list, the list that the things that you'd like to accomplish, in your life?
Things that I would like to accomplish.
Yes, yes. So like one maybe dream outside of fighting.
One dream outside of fighting. Um, I would love to see submission wrestling, or even if it was under the banner of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I would love to see submission wrestling be a scholastic or collegiate sport. And I would love to be a part of making that a realization.
Oh, it would be an interesting concept, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. I would like to be able to get that into a way that we could sanction it for schools. I would like to find a way where, it is, okay to do. And I imagine the rule set would be interesting and probably not allow a lot of leg locks and twisting leg locks and stuff like that. But I think if we were able to moderate and mediate something like that, I think we could probably do that. And I don't know. I would love to be a part of something like that and to get that done. But yeah, I would like to do that. Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Okay, Corey. So many thanks for the conversation. I
Thank
think
you.
that soon you will be 2-0, and I hope that next year you will fight in the bigger promotions, maybe LFA, maybe some other one, and you still be undefeated.
I would very much appreciate that. And thank you so much, brother. I appreciate the phone call.